been a couple of weeks since I've done a Monday stream. Mondays are usually my favorite day to stream, but just hasn't been happening lately. Stars haven't been aligned, but today will be different. Let me take a moment and get set up here, and then dive into some code. Let's see. Click on that. Cool. And then all right, that's good. That's good. All right, let's dive in. So, a couple things have actually changed. I did finally get a chance to code off of stream. So the streaming in chunks, chunking the results, that works, and that's done. So moving that over. I brought page 2 in. It's a little bit buggy. Still resolving some bugs there, but now page 1 and page 2 both show up. And I may actually grab a new test case for that. Yeah, our one test case that's performing terribly. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is done. So let me crush that. And then the thing I want to work on today is page flip transitions. So we're going to pull that up to priority. Almost done with the devlog. I meant to get it done last week, and it just didn't. I think I need to record like one more clip, and then I'll put out a devlog, which kind of summarizes the last month or so worth of work. Title pages, don't OCR. It's some bug fixing. I'll get to that. Improve feedback on detection, maybe. Render B-box around books, kind of important. Page flipping, yeah. What I probably need to do is improve test cases. That enter is not good. Delete that. And I think for this, what I'll probably do is, I think I will actually remove the broken 5% test case. And then we're gonna grab new images for page 2 test case. So I think I want to do a page 2 test case. Grab new images for title, paragraph, test case. Because I don't really have any test cases that deal with title pages or anything like that. So since I have bugs that I need to fix related to titles, I probably should just grab images so that I can then quickly, yeah, I guess that test would fail. So I'll do some test-driven development. So test-driven development is where you set up a test case that fails. So grab that, expect the test to fail, which it would, because when I think there's a title page, we fail to get a box around it properly, and then the test scores poorly. Like we'd end up not OCRing the page. I think we throw it away. And so, yeah, we end up with a problem there. So get test case for that. This one doesn't score well. Would need to improve image merging. Likely better image merging would help nothing but this test. So pointless. So remove test. Yeah, I think that the improvements I would need to make to improve this test don't affect real world. So, okay, I'll add that there. Page flip transitions. Right, so when we get an OCR result, yeah, okay, so I need to do page transition flipping. And I think I already started that. Right. The one problem with this, problem, but annoyance, is that the only way to do this is to test it on the headset. I wonder, can I set up an automated test for this? I guess I could. Because when the test suite runs... Let's see here. So, test suite runs. We run next test. It's the first test. We log, if it's, well, we run our test, like we load our images. We set the images. We trigger a scan. When that finishes, we end up calling run next test again. So, when the backend's done with it, we call the OCR manager. When we're done getting chunks, we run our next test. We then quickly... I don't know why I do this here. Why wouldn't I just log individual results? Yeah, that seems dumb. Yeah, why do I need to do that? Maybe because I didn't have this final check here. So I could do that. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. All right. So then that simplifies the logic slightly. So when we get the scan, so we do the scan, we log the results, and then we run our next test. When we run our next test, do we still have, we may still have, this is probably true. Game state probably would still have the previous test's results. So if that's interesting. I didn't think that this is going to be relevant so soon, but here we are. Grab new images of new pages. And that's actually... Might as well do The Hobbit. I'm tired of this test book, this random book that I picked up that I just happened to use. I probably should bring in The Hobbit. And this would allow for... So we could do this for our title paragraph test. But this would also allow us to do page change test. Because then we could see what happens when we bring in something that's different. Do we properly do... Yeah, do we properly clear it out? Let's see. I'm going to have to run this and see what do we do. Because I don't see us clearing anything out here. We load debug images. Sure, we just load images. We get those three. We go to the scanner service and we set our images. And then we trigger a scan. We do this until we run out of test cases. And then we run the final log final test report. When we log individual, what do we do? So we do get our page 1 page text. We log our report. I don't think we clear anything out, right? Which is interesting. I guess when we add page... Well, I guess we always do the debug log page. We then set our page. Page text, what do you do? This just handles displaying, right? So it really should be OCR manager. We come in here. Yeah. We say we're processing. So we always do this. And we always add a page. I thought we had logic for merging things. So we have compute metrics. All right, well, let me follow this. So in a live test, we would call this. We would get the current page. See, when we do that though, here, let me just run the test suite just straight up. Let's see what it does again. That's all fine. Now, we come in here, we run our first test, right? Chunk 0, chunk 1, chunk 2, and chunk 3. We get a terrible score, and then we start again. But when we start again, we skip metrics because we have bad results. Oh, this is the junk one, right? But again, so we then still log this junk. Or we end up with these 2 lines of junk. Updating page 1. So why is that happening? We're not supposed to do that. Let's walk through it. Like, why don't the tests already interrupt each other? Why is there not already this problem? Oh, I think I can delete this. This was pseudocode I wrote. Oh, this I think is the new pseudocode for... Did I just add it in this? Yeah. So this is for handling page flips, my pseudocode for that. And that might benefit this as well. So let me try to think holistically here. So anyway, we try to process the XML. We initialize some things. Set things back. If it's chunk 0, we always start a new page. So I guess today, we grab whichever page is relevant for the current page. But then we go and try to find matching line. which is odd if we're starting a new test. So if the previous test was still there, lines.size would be greater than 3. So we would try to find a match. Huh. Oh. Right now, when we get a new page coming in, we just immediately wipe the slate clean. That's why the current test suite works. Because every time a new test starts, we start over from scratch. And then we just append. For the first chunk anyway. And then we do, so we still do the chunking, but this only applies to, okay, that's fine. So this only applies to like merging chunks. Okay, so every time a test starts over, we just clear it out. So we don't look at the previous page. So this'll break the test suite when I do this. Now what I'm saying is if we're on chunk 0, we'll compute the Levenstein distance for X lines, where X is the lines from the new chunk. So we look at the new chunk coming in, we grab its number of lines, we try to go grab that many lines from the existing page, and we see how similar it is. So, what I would probably do then is I would probably just it's so hacky because technically what you want is each test to run in isolation, and when the test is done, you clean up after yourself and you remove everything. But now we're saying I want a new test that's expecting it to have a previous page that it is significantly different from. And so then these like tests, like we end up testing this page changing logic by the fact that does this test run independently or not from the previous test. So it's kind of like violates the laws and rules of good test harness. But I don't want to do a thing where I have a test that has to like run twice. Where I have to like, yeah, that'd be gross. Just because these tests are already slow as it is, and I don't want to have to like run unnecessarily. But I might have to, because if it runs on its own, if I do the -k flag and run it by itself, I wouldn't be able to test it properly because there wouldn't be a previous test to go off of. Okay, so probably what I need to do is add a step to reset the test harness in between each test. And then for the new test I add, unfortunately, I'll have to do basically it OCRs twice. It'll first OCR probably this book, and then OCR a new page. All right. Feels like a lot of work, but might have to do that. In any case, I'll need new images from different pages of that same book, or probably I'll go with The Hobbit, because that's more fun. Go for a title paragraph page, but also expect page change to work. All right. Yeah. And that'll help fix all those other bugs too. When I add these tests, they may be failing for a bit until I can get everything fixed. Because it won't just be page flip, but it'll also be titles that has to get fixed. And that's all necessary. in order for me to get this to a place where I can finally just start testing it myself by just sitting down and reading a book and flipping the pages. So I have to get page flip working, and I have to get... I didn't want to have to do this just yet. But I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to bring that in. All right, well, got to start somewhere. Let's start with this. So I already have the code here. Where am I at on this PR? Let me code review myself real quick. So on ready, yeah, I don't think I need page new. Huh. Does this have... Oh. I needed a refresh. Okay. There we go. So, I'm not going to use that probably. I think I'll leave it out. Because there's no need to instantiate this. Yeah, there's definitely no need to do that. Because every time we scan a new page, we have to assume it's a new one anyway. We have to clear it out every time. Right. Okay. We pass page number now because the signal needs that. This initializes it to an empty array, but I don't think that actually does anything. Let me undo that change. Added a safeguard here. Our notes. And some logging. And then we added page number checking. Okay. This is a weird typo. Like, why were we checking this twice? And then a success flag. Oh, right. Did this work? I haven't tested this fully yet, but this was a bug where I needed to, like, do a brief delay. Yeah, I should be able to pick that up in a proper 2-page test. Because I think right now we skipped that. Okay, so I'm going to have the test suite handle running like for multiple pages. Who knows? If I just rip this out, I may get multiple page running for free. All right, well, let me just implement this logic, and then I'll figure out where my gaps are. Oh, need new need new test scenarios for this. Maybe use Lovecraft, yeah. Lovecraft or Hobbit. Page 2 should have title, a new paragraph. For ending page on page 1 for any page or blank page. So that's another test scenario. Or at least a test that we're doing effectively, which could be in the same test case. Code needs to handle throwing away junk page 1, but still process page 2. Yep. Page 2 scenarios. Maybe test config for which page. Yeah, okay. I'm going to rip this out. Let me just implement this logic, and then I'll add the tests for it. We're skipping this. Okay, so I think with this new logic, we rip that out. We always get the current page. Darn, so that is an argument for we always initialize with an empty page. Let's do the Levenstein distance. And the way we're going to do this is... So, okay, let me go to game state. Since I just ripped that out. And now I'm realizing I probably do need it, just because the first time we run, it'll always be empty. I'm being lazy here. Copying this. Fine. That way, there's always a page. We always have it. There's always an existing page. Now, for this to work, we're going to do var we do need this whole get score thing, right? So we got to parse it. We do have to do some parsing. Ooh, and then we are trying to do the adding. Maybe we need to separate XML parsing from matching. Okay, let's do that. Because this is like get OCR line, which is up here. And we can do func get OCR text. Let's do that. We're gonna do a page, right? Let's just do .new. We'll just get that to pass. And this way we can actually be a little bit nice about this. Yeah, okay. Let me pull all this out then. This is nice, because then we get a little bit more encapsulation. Which normally I don't know, not always a fan of, but... Not always a bad thing. So we pull that up. And then we're always going to do a page. Let me initialize this at the top. There. We'll just call it page, and we'll return page. And what we'll do, var new chunk is an OCR page. And we'll set that equal to that. And we'll pass in our XML text, right? Cool. And then I think we're always just going to append lines here. So I'll copy this out. We'll do Shift Tab. Oh, let's undo that indent. There we go. We're not going to do the can append lines. We will always just do this. And we'll have our page. Now the issue is this offset. So let's keep this simple for this moment. And this will be get first OCR chunk. So we know that this one is always going to be zeroed out because it's always the start of a chunk. So that might be okay. Where do we compute the offset? All right. This is going to get a little bit messy. But we'll just say if we're on chunk 0, meaning we're on a new chunk, we'll do that. Does it matter? Maybe I don't need to do this like this. Excuse me. Keep again clearing my throat a lot. Don't know why. Let's assume we need all this. Let's just bring it all up. Maybe I don't, but so then we just nuke all this. This is just gone. We'll even bring up this. And we'll bring these up. Right? There. And we're just going to go with page now. Oh. Hold on. So current page. Okay. I have a thought here. I have a... We'll bring that back up here. Let's pass in current page. And we'll do current page. And that's going to be an OCR page. Okay. So this logic's literally identical to what it was before. All I did was pull this out into its own method. Now, this hopefully opens a door for us to solve a problem. Can append lines. If it's chunk 0, see, where's my old logic? Yeah, see, if it's chunk 0, yeah, see, it's almost like bring this logic back. Let me think here. What was my logic? See, even if it's chunk 0, well, if it's chunk 0, we just want to get the chunk back. So we get our page back. And then we would compute Levenstein distance and go from there. If it's not, then we are proceeding as normal. Process chunk as normal, right. Do I bring this back? The thing is, like, we still care about the current page. We always care about the current page. Okay. So this is true. Current page is this. Um, If chunk num greater than 0, var, I don't know, new page. My brain's a little foggy on this at the moment. Fine, we'll create a new page. But new page equals current page. We'll just say, you know what, let's just call it page. Or we can do old page, current page. And then we get rid of we'll call this add OCR chunk. Maybe. So, does that even work? We're missing a piece here, though. It's trouble wrapping my head around this. So what do I want to happen? If it's chunk 0, we just want it to run the whole thing. So I think we do want to just append. Fine. Just append is true. And we'll do var just append Boolean is false. Hopefully I can refactor this later. And we will get rid of that. All right, now we're basically back to the same logic as before, but slightly flipped. So we always get the previous page, which may or may not be empty. It's in one of 3 states. Either it's empty, it's the page that we're on, and we're still on that page, and it's the same text, and therefore we're potentially just going to not merge anything. Or it's a different page than the page we're on, in which case we want to start streaming. So really it's this is flipped. Let's just do 3 options. For current page, for existing page, it's either empty, same page as our new chunk, or it's going to be a different. It's a different page altogether. So current page is a new page if we're in chunk 0. If we're chunk 0, it's a new page and we're just appending. In which case, yeah, we just append and then we return. So that should work. So then in this case, current page is the new thing. Okay. So maybe instead what we do, let me pull this up. Fine, let's do it that way. If chunk num equals 0. So we're back to doing that. But we will do this. We'll do var here we go. And then otherwise we will do fine, let's do that. Fine, let's do that, and then we can just true, false. And this is our else condition. A little bit of duplication, but it's okay. So I want to put this here then. So if we're in the 0 chunk scenario, we want to compute Levenshtein distance. So this is going to be a new page. Let's just call it new page. Naming does matter, you know? New page is old page in all other cases. Okay. So we have our new page. This just gets our chunk. Var line index. And this is going to be an integer. It's going to be equal to the minimum of old page dot lines dot size, and new page dot lines dot size. Oh, sure. Let's compute our metrics for the new page. Surprised it didn't error about that sooner. All right, so we're gonna get our line index. And then where do we have our compute distance? I know one place where we have it. Here we are. So there's our score. We'll get a score. Now, how do we get that? So normally we just go to the page and say get the page text. I could overload this, make a new version of it. Maybe I can do that. I wonder if Godot lets me. Does Godot have sufficient enough classes that allow for it? And we'll do IDX int fine. I guess I'll give it a special name, so you know, that's fine. Can't do range. It's gonna be I know I've done this already. Where did I do this? Range. Here we are. Oh, okay. Right, because they don't have just a straight up. Fine. So it'll be a completely different version. So we'll do IDX. And we'll do 0. And we'll do current IDX. And then we'll just do lines current IDX. Huh? Oh, well, fine, you know. Oh, self dot lines. Yeah. Let's make this a self as well, just so it's a little more clear. All right, so now we'll do self.lines. We'll go get that index. 0 through however many line text. Again, we're just building a string. So now that I have that, I can come back down here. And we can do var old text. It's going to be a string equals and we'll do old page dot. There we go. And we'll do new text with new page. All right, so now we'll just have, now we have just the text from the old and the new, but only for those lines where there's overlap. And at this point, the reason why this is also important is when we process this, when we call process here for this new page, it only returns lines that are decently scoring. So if the top of the file, if the top of the image is kind of garbage, if there's some junk there, which I think like happens in this example here, is that true? Yeah, this is like more junk. And so in theory, it might not score very well. So if that first line happens to be junk, we throw it away, which means we should get back however many lines of good, solid, decently scoring text. Which means, like, the old will have had that done to it. The new chunk will have that as well. This old page could have like 30 lines of text because it's a full page of text. This is just going to be chunk 0, so it might only be the first like 3 lines or so. So now, by grabbing those first couple lines from both, we can do a Levenstein distance compute and get a score. So if we have chunk 0, compute Levenstein distance. Boom. If score is greater than 90, is that probably true? Where else do we use this? I've actually used this several times now. Oh, score is a float? Yeah, it's a float. 90. This is for matching lines when we merge chunks. Okay, so I'll go with 90 as well. All right, if score is greater than 90, else pass. Does it match with the previous page? So we'll say being greater than 90 means we pass. So then we create a new we're saying we then create a new temporary page and we skip add page. Okay. Otherwise, it doesn't match. And it's a new page. So we should wipe the slate clean and start streaming chunks in like we did before. So okay. Create a new temporary page. So let's do that. Let's do var existing. We'll call it updating existing page. Let's just call it that. Boolean, and we'll default it to false. Let's not compute metrics yet. Well, we'll hold on that. Updating existing page is true. Otherwise, it's false. We'll get rid of the passes. Compute metrics. So let's do if not or final chunk, right? I think this is going to be true. So if either we're not updating, if we're not updating the existing page, if it's a new page, then we do want to compute metrics and immediately add it, right? If we are updating an existing page, but it's the final chunk, then we also want to then immediately go at it. Create new temporary page. So these are representing the current active pages. I'll do this. In fact, I'll even intentionally not do that, like not initialize it. And we'll go with temp page. Just call it that. And we will do GameState.tempPage equals save that, and we'll bring that in. Huh? GameState has a page 1. Something needs to get cleared out, I think. Ah, there we go. Godot is always a little finicky sometimes. Always sometimes. Yeah. So there we go. We created a new page, and we will skip adding page. So those conditions are true. Let's clear that out. Otherwise, new page. Wipe the slate clean and start streaming in chunks like we did before. I think as long as this is true, we can just send the new page, and add new page is going to, so we get our new page coming in and our page number. We'll just immediately assign it. So I don't think I have to do anything other than setting this flag. And updating existing page is already false. We assume that. So in fact, I can get rid of this else condition. So far, so easy. So chunk 0, Levenstein distance, does it match? If else, done. In theory, this is enough for for things to be okay. This might be a scenario where now we're doing else. Maybe not. I think we would be in this state where I wouldn't have to do this actually, because this is the OCR manager. We would just do it as a new page. So temp page is our new page. We can just skip things and we're done. So So that's our temp page. We've initialized it. But we would have to merge it, right? I guess we only have to do that on final chunk. When we get to final chunk, let's do that. If final chunk and so if it's final chunk and we're updating existing, merge / replace new page with old page, compute metrics, set new page. Yeah. I'm just going to leave that here as a note. Yeah, actually, I already had this here, right? Replace or merge with existing page, stream new lines to the UI, clear temp page. Yeah, clear temp page. Okay, so we can do this at the end. If we're on the final chunk and we're updating. Yeah, because most of the time we're just going to loop through here and we'll just keep updating the page with our chunk. Wait, why do we need to do that? I think we can just do this. No need to overcomplicate things. So we'll take our new text and we'll basically merge it in with the old page. So if we're not on chunk 0, if it's chunk, well, this might be temp page. Let me think on that. Process the chunk as normal, operating on temp page. So if it's chunk 0, what if score is not above 90? If score is not above 90, it's a new page, right? If it's a new page, we already have new page, and we're going to compute metrics and stream it. You could argue that temp page always gets new page. Let's say we're in the else conditions, chunk number 1. So we're done with chunk 0, chunk number 1. We could merge it with temp page. I think this is correct, actually. So whether, for chunk 0, whether we score highly or not, it's the new thing we're working on is the temp page. If we score highly, well, we're updating an existing page. Shoot. I think there was something about just the existence of temp page tells us if temp page exists, because I needed some way to know, are we just streaming, right? If working on a new page, send improvements immediately. So we have to know if we're working on a new page or not. This is slightly hurting my brain again. So if we get to the end here, I mean, we could just say something like if final chunk. It doesn't really matter. Is it null? Okay, so we can null it out. If GameState.tempPage, then we are updating an already completed page. Else, we are in the scenario of, so if we have temp page, that means we got chunk 0 from an already updating page, from an existing page. Otherwise, we're not in that scenario, and we just need to take our existing page and create a new page from it. So I think this is just that. And I think this is just temp page. Sorry. GameState.tempPage. Appending onto a new page where we are streaming the chunks. Yeah, so if we don't have again, like, and I could make this simpler by setting our new page to equal temp page Well, no, I think we need to get the chunk right. We always need to get the chunk. I do worry I'm overcomplicating this, and I don't want to add complicated bugs. How do we determine if we're updating an existing page again? That's false. The better logic would be if we're updating an existing page, then we're going to work on temp page. Equals is there a dot exists? Let's see here. Cancel free connect, emit, get. Maybe we do is not null. Where do I have a buddy to help me? In Godot 4.5, I have a class instance that may or may not be null. How do I assign the value of a Boolean to be true, false, based on that class instance null state? So you can just do not equal null. So I was doing is not null. I don't know why you would need the ternary operator, because this is the same as that. Is instance valid? And you can just call bool on it. This is reference exists. Exists and has been freed, deleted. It hasn't been freed or deleted. All right, I'll just call bool on it. That should work. No constructor of bool matches the signature. There might be a way for me to add that to the class, but I guess I won't do that. Fine. Let me try the is instance valid. That might be a problem if it decides that it's valid in a scenario that I'm not currently anticipating. But fine. on chunk 0, if we detect that we need to create a temp page, we will then set it to true. Then down here, if we are updating an existing page, then and only then do we pass in temp. If we're not updating an existing page, yeah, okay. Okay. We're nulling out temp page here. I mean, I should always, I mean, I guess there would be a scenario, right, where if we get chunk 0 and it's a new page, we would just append. This would always be false. We would always just be appending to the old page, creating a new page. This new page becomes the old page. Okay, so okay, so this is that scenario. So if we're on that final chunk, in this case, I guess this is final chunk, and this is true. This is final chunk, or this is true. My logic brain is hurting me right now. So we clear the temp page, set new page, compute metrics. So it really would just be but we get the new page anyway, right? So we've used the temp page. And at this point, our new page, like our temp page plus this XML results in this new page, which should be in many cases largely identical to the old page if we're updating existing. But that's fine. We compute our metrics, we assign it, and then we clear out the temp page. But I still need to merge and replace. I don't think this check is needed. I think we might be able to get away with this. So if we are in this scenario where we're not updating an existing page, or these two things are true, then, but see, we still want to do this, like the merging of the things. if we're on our final chunk, yeah, I don't think I need this. Okay, so I think what we can do is, so if we're not updating an existing page, we do this. We're going to elif we are updating an existing page. So if we're not updating an existing page, we do this. Else, like, this is now true. And this is true. We're at the final chunk. If this is true and this is not true, we trump out. So if we're on the final chunk, then we do it again. Only this time we actually do. We're going to do this extra step. And we'll clear this out. Stream the chunks for this new page as we get them. Now, at the end of all chunks, decide if how to improve the page we already have displaying. There. That's the reality of what we're trying to do. Yeah, okay, fine. I think this can go away. Is that all the logic? It might be all the logic. I'm going to leave this here for now. So, chunk 0, compute distance. Well, so we get our chunk, compute our distance. If it matches, we create a new temporary page and we mark ourselves as, hey, we're in the process of updating an existing page. We set that true, which might already be true, right? It'll be true next time as well. Otherwise, we basically just do nothing. It's a new page, so we're wiping the slate clean. Like, we're not doing an update, so we're just gonna, since this doesn't get set, since this was already not true, and it'll remain not true, we'll come down to here, so it's not true. We have our new chunk 0 of a new page. We just immediately stream it up there, and that's all goodness. If we are updating an existing page, if we get that new chunk and we confirm that it's a new page, or no, that's the same page that we're working on. Since it's chunk 0, it's not going to be the final chunk, so we would skip everything. This won't be true. We're out. We're done. Next time we come around, it's not chunk 0 anymore. We've got a new chunk. If we are updating an existing page because, hey, we detected that, right? We determined that, hey, there is this temp scratch pad where we're shoving content. Okay, cool. Well, do we update that? No, we're not updating temp page. So all right, so then what this needs to be is So new page would end up remaining this empty thing. New page would be empty. We would set our temp page. We would merge this new content into the temp page and set it there. And then we would actually make that the new, when we're finally done on our final chunk, we would make that we would compute metrics on it and make it the new old page. So that would be the new page that's currently out there. And then we'd wipe it out. That makes sense. But again, if it's chunk 1, yep, we do that. But since we're not on the final chunk, we just keep skipping. And we just keep building this until we get to the final chunk. And then once we're at the final chunk, again, to do. I still need to do this step. Now, the other scenario would be, hey, it's not chunk 0, but we're not working on a temp page because we're just streaming results. So in which case, take the page that's already out there, go get our current page that's out there, merge in our new stuff, and since we're not updating, immediately stream it out. That all feels right. This is good. That's done. 3 options exist for chunk 0. The first is if it's empty, which I think is fine. So we'll get the minimum of these. We might have to do a 0 case here. If it's empty, right? Because if we don't have... This will, like, old page will always have lines, but it'll initially be 0. So this could end up being 0. And then this would be range 0, 0, so it'd be empty string, empty string. It'll score high. Empty strings compared to each other would score high. So then we would declare it to be an updating an existing page, even though it's not. So we can't have that. So we'll do that. If we actually got something, if we at least got one single line, we need at least a line out of this. If we didn't get a line out of it, then it's just a new page. Like, and by, like, meaning, like, old and new both have at least one line. Ooh, what if new has none? Well, if new has none, we would just return. Interesting. All right, to be robust with this, we'll do this. Okay, so if we're in the edge case where, hold on, let me pull that over down to here, right? Slightly more complicated than I want, but didn't find good text in our image. I don't think this could ever possibly happen right now, given the way the system, how I have it set up. I mean, I guess it's possible, right? OCR could fail. But most of the time in my testing, this never happens. Like, we don't hit this method if we find nothing. But it's a good safeguard. So we get our page with our XML. We parse our XML text, and if we don't have any lines, then we're just gone. And if the old page then needs lines. So we say have something worth comparing. So we'll say a new chunk. Starting on. Oh, I know what chunk 0 means. So the question is this chunk? I don't need to comment out my own stuff. Fine, let me comment that out. Let me delete that rather. All right, cool. So have something worth comparing, do our comparison. Fine, good. And if we somehow get all through all this, I'll just say else new page, start streaming this chunk immediately. Sure. Okay, so we've handled the empty scenario. Same page as our new chunk. We handle that. Different page altogether. So I think this is good. Decide if it's time to update the book. Send improved page immediately to game state. Yeah, okay. I think all this is done. The only thing missing is now at the end of all chunks. Decide, merge, replace with new. What do we have here? So score, get score. If not strong words. Okay, so we would recompute this. Strong words that size. Okay. So I do have a score here. Gotcha. So each page has a score. So what I'll do we'll do a merge page. Let's do that. Merged page. We'll call it best page. And we'll do if old page dot get score is greater than our temp page dot get score. We'll do best page equals old page. And for now, we'll just assume the best page is our temp page, the new one coming in. So there we go. So we've got our best page. We assume it's the new one. But if our... Well, we could do it as the old page. Why not? Fine. Yeah. Okay. Because the old page is already out there. It's already there. Fine, let me just delete these. I don't really need them. Hold on. We can then... Well, this is always going to get cleared out. So we definitely want to clear that out. But these... So we're at the final chunk. We always want to clear out our temp page when we're done here. But if our temp page is better than our existing page, then we'll set it. And now we can just say, hey, look, best page, compute metrics, and we'll go send it. We don't need to do this if it's the old page because it's already out there. It's already added. There's no sense in doing it. So we don't, there's no why call this logic. But we do always want to clear it out because it's the final chunk. Great. So for now, like we'll just do, I'll leave myself a little to do here. Maybe consider, well, not maybe, should probably merge these line by line. Picking best line. Ideally, we'd do this word by word. That's a harder problem that I really just don't want to do for now. But, I mean, I know the reality is the one problem I have, the one bug that I'll have to fix eventually is if you're holding the book and your thumb is overlapping the text, that's not going to OCR properly, right? So, ideally what we would do is at least line by line would be better. But we have to make sure it's the right line and like, you know, we're matching things up correctly because if we're off by one, then it's a whole hot mess. So that has its own challenges I really don't want to face right now. But ideally, yeah, we would take the two texts and merge the lines. So that way, that might even fix the thumb issue, right? Because then, like, we pick the better of each line. So if we OCR the top line of a page better, you know, because this one might have a better first line than this one, but this one might have a better last line of the page than this one, depending on where your hands are placed or anything like that. This would solve 90% of that. If we really wanted to get crazy, we could go word by word. I don't think... I'm going to say this is probably overkill. And also something I would only do... I would do this first, and if this still has edge case bugs, then I would consider doing this. Not should, probably. We should. We should merge these line by line, picking best line. But for now, we'll just take which scores better. So that way, if you're holding the book and we rescan the same page while you're reading, then it should just improve itself. Like it'll just, whichever one's the best version of it. In fact, the longer you stare at the page, in theory, it would just get better and better. But eventually we would kind of hit an upper limit where we're just not scoring anything better. But if you moved your thumb out of the way and you had your hand on the side of the book, then that would result in a few extra good scoring words, and yeah, maybe we'd update. Let's run the test suite. This is all front-end code. I call Godot code front-end code. So I don't need to rebuild C++. Scores of 0. Yeah, well, that's going to happen. Let's wait till it finishes and then be surprised. Let me check in on things real quick. Looking good. Mostly a quiet Monday morning. Hold on. Trying to make sure. I'm just looking, making sure something looks right here in this stream. Okay, that's probably fine. I'll have to check on that later. All zeros. Bam, look at that. Amazing scores. Yeah. Okay. That's going to do what now? All right, which test is this? Oh, where is this running test thing? Ah, fine. It's probably in the test suite, right? Here, fine. We'll do... I just want to make this slightly easier to find this. So, this one scores badly, but it doesn't score that badly. It's usually in the 70s. Oh. Well, I don't know if in the test suite I'm clearing things out properly. So here we go. Let's see here. Starting OCR, that's all fine. Done getting Haka results. So working on chunk 0. So according to this, we're working on chunk 0, 0. We just don't write it. Okay, so something's wrong. Let me... Let's do shaky. I like shaky. Let's just run it by itself. All right. Yeah, there we go. Slightly easier to find that. Starting OCR, blah, blah, blah. Chunks. Well, hold on. Do we have... So we set the images. Processing 0, 0. Okay, so 0, 0, it's just not coming through. All right, so working on chunk 0. No lines in the new page. Seems a bit odd. Old page has size to it. Like, neither of those should be true. Like, this shouldn't be true. It should be false. And this should be false. So we should just skip out with our new page. Updating existing should be false. Again, there could be an issue with this is instance valid thing. Updating existing. Plus string updating existing. All right, so that'll tell us, confirm we're in chunk 0, tell us where we are here. If this is false, so if we have the new page and this is false, then we should just be on our way. So that must not be true. Let's run it again. Here we are. Here we are. All right. Updating existing. False. So we are not updating existing page. Good. So that is falsy. Working on chunk 0. No new lines in the new page. No lines in the new page. So this guy's empty. This is why we're... So something's wrong here. Just append is set to true. And new page is an empty page. Oh, so, I mean, I assume we have Haka results here. Oh, we start a whole new page. Oh. We start a whole new page and we return an empty page. Instead, we have current page being passed in. Okay, we don't want that. That's our bug. If it's append only, then we just add lines to it. This might be working now. Now we still might have an issue of existing pages in the test suite. Yeah, there we go. There we are, back to good. Now this is going to be a problem because what we'll probably see... There we go, okay. So I wanted to see this. We have our chunk 3. So there's our test report. It's scored as expected. Now we come into this new test. And our new test, updating existing is false. Am I clearing that out? I don't... So if this is to be believed, then the whole test report should be fine. And it is. Everything's back to working as expected. But it shouldn't be. It should have broken. So what gives? The nice thing is this can largely be ignored now. So I can kind of close that off. What the heck's going on? I'm going to close this. I have it up on GitHub. So I've got it backed up. Here's our on-text scanned file now. More complicated in some ways, but it's good. I don't need to, well, I guess I'll leave those for now. What if we did... This should fail here, actually. Temp page has lines. We'll do string no, it should be old page, right? Yeah, because we're clearing out temp page. That should be fine. But old page. Yeah. And that should always be a page, right? So that's... Yeah, actually, no, it won't fail. It'll succeed. So the first test it should come through as 0. Here we are right here. Old page has lines. No, it doesn't. Old page has 7 lines. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So that's working just fine. And we get down to, we got 13 lines. And then we're working on our last chunk. We got 21 lines. Great. Now this one comes through. Old page has lines 27. So it's got size to it. So we would be chunk 0. We're working on chunk 0. So we do have old page has size to it. Yes. Okay. Maybe this score is the issue. Similarity is... Actually, this is a good test, because like this, we should be running into this bug. The fact that we're not tells me maybe the score is too low. We'll do string on score. Okay, that's fine. Else, we've got game state dot log. Nope. Log. New page. actually, I should do... updating existing page. All right, I do need to stop soon, right? Let's pull this over here. Let me see. Check on something. Okay, so here we are. We just build it out. Okay, here we go. Old pages lines, old pages size to it. Similarity is 23, so we're working on a new page. I suppose, again, this test scenario is trash, so it's saying it's a new page. I mean, this is never going to happen in the real world, so I can't use this as an example. And then this one, old page has 2 lines. Okay, yeah, so that would make sense. Like, that's going to be literally, yeah, it's literally going to be this. So that's working. And it's going to say, nope, no similarity, new page. That's fine. I would expect that. So to put it simply, yeah, here we go. Go through all that. Now we're done. And this is a 94. So this is pretty high scoring. Yeah, I may have to do some sort of threshold of, yeah, like just in the event that we get it, because I think bad OCRing can still happen. So the problem will be if we have bad OCRing, but it's not terrible OCRing, then we're going to score low, and then we'll say that it's a new page when it really isn't. Okay, so here we are with good. Old page is 31 lines. Similarity is 77. Okay. So let's make 75 our threshold for now. We got one more test, right? Cheeky legs, 79. Okay. So if I do 75, that'll work. I can get rid of all this. I'm very, very confident this is going to work. There we go. And now if I run this, now we're going to have a problem. Because we're going to have, like... Actually, we should get scores, but the scores should be kind of thrown off. This one will create a new page, so that one's fine. That's 4.9 expected. So this is interesting. I think this is, yeah. Okay, so as expected, yeah. So then this one, when it comes in again, it doesn't score as well as this one. I think that's known, right? What do we look at our... Yeah, angled is our best one, a 94. Good is only a 91. So that's actually a good thing. We would expect... So it ends up keeping the old result. And we end up with that score. Shaky, however, why did shaky? Running test shaky. So again, we detected existing. Well, okay, yeah, no, because there's high correlation. Let me log that. That's interesting. So it didn't replace it. Game state dot underscore log. And we'll say old page score. Do a string on whatever. Best page dot score. We'll do that. New page score. And this is our temp page. Now if I run that again, we'll see what that comes up with. So for whatever reason, the temp page has a higher score than the old page, but then when we do the distance, that's interesting. When we do the distance to the expected text, it scores worse. I could see that happening. Because this score is just the number of high confidence words that Tesseract told us it found. Just because it OCR'd something with high confidence doesn't mean Tesseract was correct in what it OCR'd. Alright, so here we are. Old page 199, new page 211. So it slightly beat it out. That's fine. I mean, it scores pretty well anyway, right? We're talking like a 94 versus a 93. Like, it's not off by that much. So I could see that happening. So now, in order to fix that, so I do have tests where I want that to be a case. So the last thing I'll do before I'll stop for today is how can we prevent that from happening? So in the test suite, the easiest hack solution would be run next test, right? So before we do, so if we're on our final chunk, and we're ready to run our next test, what we could do is reset back, do game state.page1. Page 1 equals, do we have OCR manager here? Where am I using OCR Manager? Ah, right, sure. So we'll do OCR Manager dot OCR page dot new. Right? This is doing OCR Manager directly like that. Yeah, because I can't call it directly, I think, from the test harness. That's the issue. Fine, fair enough. And even though I don't need it now, but I will eventually, we'll just do that 3 times. Do .temp page. So we'll clear those out. Now if I run it every time, now it should clear. Well, see, did it? That's weird. All zeros now. Huh. Even the first one got a 0. I mean, run next test. Weird. Just making sure there's nothing dumb. It's the only change I made, right? And there it goes. It works. Huh. Yeah. I wonder... I probably don't have access to this like that, right? Weird. In which case, why do I need to preload it at all? And now it works. No, it didn't work. At least not for that test anyway. So the first test, it ran fine. Which I would have expected. And then test 2. It doesn't. If I switch back to that and I run it again, do I end up with, because I'm pretty sure I didn't notice a success, but maybe there was a success. So if I run that, did we get a success? Yes, we did. Okay, so it's an OCR page, right? Oh. That should be null, right? This might work now. There we are. That was the issue. It needs to be nulled out because it needs to have a null temp page. Otherwise, we will always just assume that we have to append to it. So now are we back to our regular scoring program? What do we got? 76, yeah, 5, 94, 91, 92. 94, 91, 92 with a 9.6 on there. Yep, perfect. 3.7 seconds. For whatever reason, it's faster. Must be just because I restarted my machine. Yeah, actually, I've been meaning to, before capturing these, like stop streaming, because I think streaming eats up resources too. It's fine. It's always hard to... It's hard to keep this reliable, because it depends on the state that my local machine's in. Ideally, if I put this up on a GitHub action, then maybe this would be much more reliable, because it'd be running on a headless server that's recreated every time. I don't know. Maybe. But in any case, we're good. So now what I would probably do is on run next test, I guess we would always do this every time anyway. Run next test, there are some tests that may have to call, I guess it would load the debug images. And it would have to run twice or something. Yeah, no, it would have to, actually no, it would have to do this whole thing twice. Because it would need to load the first images, run it. Ah, this is going to make things complicated. Yeah, I'd have to do some sort of like run next test. Would have to know if we're still running on the same existing test. Yeah, that's going to be a pain. I don't want to have to do that right now. Get status-s, get diff. So how are we looking? Initialize those. Did some cleanup. So dot lines, we added the page text range. This got nuked for reasons. I mean, like, didn't really. It just got, I guess a lot of the logic got moved and then new logic got pulled in. Some things got renamed, a bunch of stuff. Run next test got simplified. We clean up on the test harness and we improve some logging. Yeah, run next test got simplified. So, get status-s. By the way, what do we have here? All fine. This probably should get nuked, but I'll get there. Yeah, most of this has gotten updated anyway. Yeah, I changed this to be a Boolean. I think that's a bug. I still need to test to confirm this bug is fixed. But sure. Star.gd. And what do we do? So we in theory, page turning now works. It doesn't break the test harness, which is good. It's a good first start. Don't break the existing logic. But in theory, now what it means is if I run it on the headset, I could turn a page and it would work. We would detect that we're working on a new page. And if I stay on the existing page, we will just keep improving that page. Yeah. The main way to detect this would be to bring in some new tests. But I think I'm fine with, for the moment, if I can test this successfully manually and it feels relatively solid on the headset, I'll call it done. But then the next thing we pick up would be the improve the test cases. So I can codify this working in a test. By the way, I probably should also add, is it Shift Tab? Grab, typing, new images of page 2 only. So, do things break if reader is hyper focused on page 2? I think they will. So I think the way the app works right now is if you're holding the book in such a way where you're really, really just looking at page 1, then that's fine. Page 2 would largely get ignored then. But I think if you're hyper-focused on page 2, I think I've already seen this in the headset, I think things might break. So I would like to bring in that test scenario and see how that is. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to do some test harness work to like get us to a stable state. But this is important because if I do this right, then I can make code changes without fear. So I'll move on to that next, but let me manually confirm that this is working right. Let me actually finish up here. I know this is actually in progress because I've done most of the things. I just need to record the last bit and be done with it and publish it. Yeah. should always refresh this page because it does seem like it behaves weirdly sometimes. All right. Yeah, so let me do that. And so let me get this in, get this done, and then add a bunch of tests that break everything and scream at me and make all my scores terrible, and then I can work on fixing those. But I think we're actually finally just maybe getting close to something that I could actually, assuming page flipping works, and I bring in these new tests and I fix a couple of the bugs like title pages. I think we may actually be at a place where I could actually sit down with a book and read a book using this app. And if that's the case, then boom, we are moving on to new amazing things. I'm kind of excited. In any case, for those hanging out with me, thanks for hanging. I know a couple people have checked in. And for those watching on the stream after, or the recording after, thank you as well. Talk to y'all later.